Welcome to Adding Fuel to the Hire, a podcast for hiring managers and job seekers across all types of dealerships. With over 20 years collective recruitment experience, Rowan, Tony and Phil draw upon their knowledge to help you navigate through the recruitment and job hunt process. For more information, head to our website, addingfueltothehire.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Adding Fuel to the Hire. I've got Rowan Co with me here today. How are you, Ro?
Good, thanks, Phil. How are you?
Very good. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about probably one of the most interesting areas within recruitment, senior management. It's the typical where, people think of headhunting.
Look, it is a lot more exciting. That's for sure. There's some great roles out there.
Yeah.
And finding the right person for that role can be a challenge, but it's a challenge that if you can get it right, you can find that right person, then it's pretty rewarding, I think.
Yeah, and I think recruiting for these roles, you tend to get a lot of very interesting knowledge from the industry because a lot of the senior managers obviously know quite a lot about what's going on. And, when you're talking to them about their role and what they're up to and what the sort of targets are that they've been working towards with their company, you tend to find out a lot of sort of insider information that you usually wouldn't otherwise.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a good opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Even though I've been doing this for 11 years, I'm still learning every day about these dealerships and how they're run. So, getting that extra bit of information and learning about how certain dealers run and do certain things, it is good. It's good for good background knowledge.
Yeah, that's right. And look, those senior management roles, they tend to be usually we talk about market rates here, but it's a bit tough to do that with senior management roles because they're just very specialized and very varied.
Yeah.
It's probably the one role where you can say we probably can't really even give a ballpark figure because the range is just too big. It wouldn't make any sense. Yep. That being said, with senior management roles, I think it's more interesting the way they're set up and the way the salary packages are put together is quite different.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, look, they do vary, and usually that comes down to location and size. So, and of course, what's entailed in the role. Senior management covers off a wide range of positions from like a senior after-sales manager right through to a CEO or managing director or something along those lines. So there's a wide range there of different salary packages, but usually what these people are looking for is a new challenge.
Yeah.
So what they want to see is a way to be able to prove themselves and be rewarded for achieving that challenge.
Yeah.
So if that's increased sales or decreased turnover of staff or better systems and procedures in place, then you want to tailor a package around being able to achieve those results.
Yeah.
So really think about what it is you need this person to do and what motivates them, what's the challenge that they're looking for, and that's how you want to design the package. But usually it's a base retainer plus incentives based on a gross profit of the branch or company. That's usually how the incentives sort of work.
Yeah.
Most senior roles will come with company vehicle, either one or two, maybe one for the partner as well. Yeah. Have seen that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen that a couple of times. So, look, it all just really depends on, what does this person need to get them over the line to be able to come into this role and perform. Yeah.
Do you find often the people who are really successful in these roles are people who quite enjoy working on the business?
Yeah, I think so. They're people who, as I said, are very challenge focused. So they really want something to fix. Yeah. That's pretty much what I see in these roles is, they're looking, they've done what they set out to achieve in their current role. Yeah. There's probably not a new challenge there right now. So that's why they keep their eyes open. Yeah. But, they're a different type of candidate to try and find because they're not always just browsing job boards trying to find.
They're usually not.
New jobs. So.
No, that's right. Yeah. And it leads us nicely into challenges, which is the next thing I want to talk about. Yep. What are sort of some of those challenges you found in recruiting these sort of roles? Because I know you've done a few, not just here in Australia, but I know also over in New Zealand and I think over in PNG as well.
Yeah, look, it is a limited market, as it's there's not as many because there's only a few positions like this in each dealership, depending on the position, obviously. So trying to find somebody that has that skill set can be hard because there might only be 15 people in Australia who could do the job, or less. There might only be 5. So, you've got to really know how to find those people. And usually it's networking and knowing people who know people is how you're going to find that person. You're probably not going to find them by posting a job ad. You might get lucky, but usually it's through a connection or some other method. Maybe you go through a specialist recruiter or something like that.
No, for sure.
But another challenge there that with finding those people, because there's so few of them, but also attracting those people to regional areas. And we've spoken about this before. It's hard to bring people from a metro area or even another rural area. If they're ingrained in the community, it's hard to make that move. That's a big step for a family. So, getting the information across to sell the role to somebody perhaps who has to relocate, being able to attract those people to the region is a challenge. So something that definitely needs to be considered throughout the process.
And look, when you are recruiting these sort of senior managers, what impact do you think that has culturally on the dealership?
Oh, look, it can have a huge change in either direction. It could be great. Could be just what the dealership needs, a new direction, new leadership, just changing the culture, much more positive. But somebody coming in might make a lot of changes, and that doesn't always go across very well. But it depends what they're employed to do. If they're employed to come in and put in these procedures and systems in place, and to do that they have to ruffle a few feathers, then that's part of the job. And they know that. These people, the people within the dealership might often not know what they're here to do or there to do. So. It can go either way, obviously, and ultimately it's the owner or the senior management who decides if that was a good hire and if that person has done what they wanted them to achieve.
Right. Fair enough. All right. Look, the other thing I just wanted to touch on as well with challenges. I know we've spoken about this before in other podcasts, about previous episodes about. We've sort of spoken about different areas, for example, sales, and we've done the same thing for service. Have you found, what have you found as sort of, the cross-industry movement like for senior management?
Look, it doesn't happen as much as it does in other positions. It really is generally a position where the employer wants somebody to hit the ground running. So previous experience and knowledge and have done that job before, or at least something in that realm is pretty important for these types of positions. So I probably see it less often where a dealer will look at an outside hire from a different industry. It is fairly a big step for them to trust their business or a senior management position with somebody who hasn't ever worked in a dealership. But on the flip side of that, I guess there is potentially a lot of opportunity there. More people available from other industries that might bring in, if they're a related industry, for example, agribusiness or something like that, where they come in with some different skill sets. Depends on the role, really, and what their core responsibility is. If they're there to improve processes, dealership processes, and working with the manufacturer and things like that, they're probably going to want somebody who's done that before, because just realistically, it's going to be pretty difficult for somebody to pick that up in the short to medium term.
Cool. Okay, awesome. Well, look, let's talk about opportunities a little bit. What's the number one thing you would look for in a senior management candidate?
Look, the passion for that challenge. We talked about that they're looking for a challenge. I like to see a candidate who is really passionate about fixing something or finding a new interest or a new challenge, and who's interested in a regional area. So I find senior management candidates are more likely to relocate for an opportunity. So there's, geographically. So I think there's an opportunity there to really sell the opportunity as well as the location for senior management staff, because if you can get them interested in the opportunity, they can see it's a challenge. and they've researched the location, or you've given them information about what's available in the local area and what there is to do on the weekends and things like that, then those two things together are really going to combine to be a big draw card for those candidates, and it's going to pique their interest and they're more likely to apply for the position. Yeah,
because you're going to get to a level, I think, where opportunities are just far and few between, once you get to those really, really high level roles. I found that as well a lot of the time, the higher you get, the more likely or the more open you are to relocating because look, I'm probably not going to find something where I am at the moment.
There might only be one other position in town.
That's it.
And that's somebody's been in the role for 20 years, So if you want a new job, you've got to move.
That's right.
So there's that as well.
Yeah.
Look, it's it is tough to find those people. So as I said, it's more likely that candidate's going to be a passive candidate that you'll look at for a senior management role. And by passive, I mean they're not browsing job boards. They're not actively reaching out looking for new jobs. These are people that, are sitting back, they're employed, they're happy, they're doing a good job. If a great opportunity came along that interests them, that they would look at it and maybe look to put an application through. So those are the people that you really want to attract. And by doing that, to do that, you would need to reach out through your network and try and find connections through that. Or you could use a recruiter who would do the same thing by reaching out to their network. Yeah. Do you find sort of platforms like LinkedIn, for example, are quite useful for sort of those senior management roles? Or yeah, definitely. I think there's there's certain positions that use LinkedIn a lot more, and I think management is one that uses LinkedIn a bit more. They're trying to get their achievements across, promote themselves. They're probably more career focused on getting those higher positions. So it does sort of lend itself towards those more senior management positions. So that's certainly another place you could look. People can indicate whether they're open to new opportunities on that system as well. So that could be another way of finding them.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so when it comes to the job marketing, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know senior management roles can attract quite a lot of attention for the sake of them obviously being senior management roles. They're obviously, they're generally well paid. They're up there in terms of the career ladder, so they can attract quite a lot of attention. How do you attract the right type of attention?
Yeah, so you want to be clear in the advertisement. So you want to make sure that you're getting across the tasks and the responsibilities and what you're looking to achieve with this position. I think, you're right. A lot of people apply for these senior management roles because the money. They're highly paid and they think, I'll give it a shot. So, those people are still going to apply no matter what you do. But to get the right people to apply, you want to make sure that you are clear and concise and that you also sell the opportunity and also the location. Because especially if you're a regional area, you really got to pay attention to that location and what's available there and, schooling and all that sort of stuff, if that's something that's important to those candidates.
Yeah. And look, say you found that perfect candidate, they're the one and they're going to have to relocate to, you're in a regional town somewhere. There's always that worry that, they'll get here and they'll start and they'll go, no, this wasn't quite what I was looking for. Do you have any tips for dealers who are looking to do that, who just want to make sure that new candidates invested in the company and they're sort of going to stick around for as long as possible?
Yeah, definitely being open and honest and keeping that communication going. A lot of candidates I'm seeing lately will make the move themselves for an initial period, maybe 3 months or 6 months before they relocate their family, just to make sure that they're happy in the role and the employer's happy with them as well. So really having a bit of a trial period, I guess, to make sure that it is a location that they're happy with. But, I mean, at the end of the day, people are people. It's hard to know, what's going to happen in a few months' time. Just making sure that you educate them as best you can. If you're interviewing them, definitely get them in for, face-to-face. Bring them to your town. Put them up for a couple of nights, maybe even a weekend. So that they can see what there is to do in the town. But also get the partner involved. Don't just make it about the person. In fact, in one of the interviews, I'd probably suggest getting their partner in on the interview. So that they can be interviewed about, what are you looking for? While your partner's working, what do you work? What's your career? Oh, well, there's 3 hospitals here. They're always looking for nurses or whatever,
That's right.
doctors or whatever it looks like. So
that's right.
having an understanding of what the complete picture is and showing that you're invested in that candidate and their family unit definitely goes a long way to the candidate of making them feel like, oh, yeah, I think this is going to be a safe move because we're both employed.
Yeah.
But also being flexible that if the employee wants to just do a bit of a trial period and make sure that the location's going to be fine.
Correct.
Then you're open to that as well.
Correct. Don't take that, as an employer, don't take that as a bad thing. I've heard a lot of the time, clients not complaining, but sort of saying, I'm not sure because he said he'll just move by himself for the first 3 months and then he'll relocate his family. I'm just not sure if he's committed. Yeah. I think it's important not to take that as a negative, but rather maybe even as a positive. They're being careful.
Yeah, that's right.
They're not just willy-nilly going, all right, yep, no worries, let's move the whole family.
Yeah.
They want to make sure it's the right move for them and the right move for the family and the right move for the company as well, in a sense,
Yes.
That, this candidate's going to be the right person to be with them for the next couple of months or years.
Yeah, exactly. And if they say that and they say they're not looking to, or if you think that a candidate, because they're not willing to commit straight away to move their full family, don't rule that as a negative because, as you said, it shows that they care, that they want to make sure it's the right decision for their family.
Yeah, that's right. And look, the last thing I just wanted to touch on is tell me a little bit about equity arrangements because I think this comes up a little bit with senior management roles more so than anything else really. Yeah,
it can be a good way of attracting top talent is by offering some sort of equity arrangement.
Yeah.
And that may be after a qualifying period. It will almost definitely wouldn't be a straight up, we'll give you 10% of the business kind of thing. But an opportunity for equity is always something that really piques a lot of people's interest because some senior candidates, they're in a management position, they don't have equity where they are.
Yeah.
They dream that maybe one day they'll be able to get into owning a dealership or some sort of business like that.
Yeah.
And giving them the opportunity to either put aside some of their bonuses to buy shares or whether after 6 months you give them 2% or something along those lines in lieu of bonus. There's a lot. It's very complicated on how it's done, but it is something that is very attractive to those senior candidates because it is something that a lot of them aspire to.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, look, I think this is probably a good point to wrap it up for this week. If you do have any more questions about senior management roles or you just want to sort of, get an idea of, where's the market, what would I sort of need to pay for this and this sort of role, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Our details are in the show notes as always. And otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Adding Fuel to the Hire. If you have any questions or you'd like to hear us talk about a particular topic, why not send us an email at podcast@addingfueltothehire.com. If you like what we do and would like to support our podcast, please leave a review on your podcasting app of choice. For further information, please visit our website, addingfueltothehire.com.